Ladies and gentlemen, let's get something straight right here, right now. Not everyone who smiles in your face wants to see you win. Some folks, they specialize in smoke and mirrors. They are masters at bending your mind without you even noticing. Manipulators. And if you're not paying attention, they'll have you questioning your worth, your power, even your purpose. They don't come at you with fists. They come at you with feelings, subtle, calculated, and disguised as love or concern. That's how manipulators use guilt as a weapon. Not in an obvious way, but with precision, like a surgeon with a scalpel. You ever notice how some people always manage to flip the script when they're in the wrong? They twist it so suddenly, you're the one feeling sorry, ashamed, like you've done something terribly wrong, even when you were just standing up for yourself. That's no accident. That's guilt tripping, and it's one of the oldest tricks in the book. See, a manipulator knows that direct confrontation makes them vulnerable, but guilt is subtle. It slides under the radar. They'll say things like, after everything I've done for you, or I guess I just don't matter to you anymore. Sound familiar? That's not love. That's emotional blackmail. The aim isn't to resolve conflict or build connection, it's to dominate the emotional space, to make you second guess your truth so they never have to face theirs. What makes guilt so dangerous is that it feeds on empathy. The more compassionate you are, the more susceptible you become. They rely on your goodness. Your conscience becomes the very tool they use to control you. They'll paint themselves as the victim, wounded, misunderstood, constantly let down. And you, the person who's just trying to live with honesty and boundaries, are cast as the villain. Over time, if you're not careful, you start shrinking. You start softening your voice, ignoring your needs, walking on eggshells just to avoid making them feel bad. And that's exactly what they want. Because once you're guilty, once you're ashamed, you're easier to manage, easier to manipulate. But here's the truth. And I need you to hear this. Someone else's discomfort is not your responsibility when you're standing in your truth. You are not here to carry the emotional baggage that isn't yours. Real love, real friendship, real respect, they don't come with guilt attached. They come with accountability, with mutual understanding. Guilt tripping, on the other hand, is rooted in selfishness. It says, I want what I want, and I'll make you feel like a bad person until I get it. So what do? You hold the line. You check the facts. Ask yourself, did I actually do something wrong, or did I just challenge someone who didn't want to be challenged? You must learn to separate guilt from growth. Growth might be uncomfortable, but it empowers. Guilt manipulates. At the end of the day, you can't control how others choose to treat you, but you can control how you respond. And when you recognize guilt tripping for what it is, you don't absorb it, you reject it, you rise above it. Because your peace, your clarity, your truth, they're worth protecting, always. They'll look you straight in the eyes and lie, not just about facts, but about your entire perception of reality. That's the twisted art of gaslighting. It's not loud. It's not always obvious. In fact, that's what makes it so dangerous. It starts with small denials, a misplaced item, a changed conversation, a contradiction to something they once clearly said. And when you question it, they hit you with that sharp tone. That never happened. You're imagining things. At first, you might brush it off. Maybe you did misremember. Maybe you're just tired. But then it happens again and again until your confidence starts to fracture. Gaslighting is psychological warfare. It chips away at your ability to trust yourself. They want you confused. They want you doubting your memory, your judgment, even your sanity. Because when you're unsure of yourself, when you start questioning your own mind, you become easier to control. You stop pushing back. You stop speaking up. You become dependent on their version of the truth. And that's exactly where they want you. They're not trying to win an argument. They're trying to erase your perspective. See, a manipulator doesn't want to meet you in the middle. They want to rewrite the story so they're always the hero and you're always the unstable one. They'll say things like, "You're being too sensitive," or "You're overreacting again." And you, caught in the middle of this emotional fog, start wondering if maybe they're right. Maybe you are the problem, but you're not. What's happening is not about truth, it's about power. And once you see that, once you realize that someone is deliberately distorting your perception to serve their own agenda, everything changes. Because gaslighting isn't a reflection of your weakness, it's a sign of their fear. Fear of accountability, fear of exposure, fear of losing the control they've worked so hard to maintain. Now, let's be clear. Everyone can have a bad memory now and then. Misunderstandings happen. But gaslighting is patterned. It's consistent. It leaves you feeling drained, anxious, unsure of where you stand. You start recording conversations in your head. You reread texts, second-guessing what you read the first time. That's not normal. That's not healthy. That's psychological manipulation. So what do? First, you reclaim your mind. You trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. Document things. Talk to people you trust. The moment you say out loud, "No, I remember what happened," is the moment you start breaking the spell. You stop letting someone else narrate your reality. You stop handing over your truth. And once you've reclaimed that truth, you hold on to it like your life depends on it. Because in a way it does. Because without your truth, you're living someone else's lie. Don't let them rewrite your story. You're not crazy. You're not too sensitive. You're waking up. And when you wake up, the manipulation loses its grip. Stay alert, stay grounded, stay in your truth. It starts like a dream. The attention is overwhelming. The compliments are constant and the affection is poured on thick. You feel special, seen, chosen. You might even think you've found something rare, something powerful. But slow down, because what you're experiencing might not be love at all. It might be love bombing. And if it is, the same person lifting you up today could be the one tearing you down tomorrow. Love bombing is emotional manipulation dressed up as romance. It's a calculated strategy, not a spontaneous outpouring of affection. The goal isn't to build a genuine connection, it's to create dependency. Manipulators use love bombing to hook you fast. Why? Because control is easier to establish when emotions run high and boundaries are still unclear. So in the early stages, they're perfect. They agree with everything you say, they shower you with praise, they text you all day long, and they make big promises about the future. They might even use phrases like soulmate, meant to be, or I've never felt this way before, all within weeks or even days of knowing you. To someone hungry for love or healing from emotional wounds, this can feel intoxicating. It feels like being rescued. But what's really happening is a fast forwarding of intimacy. The manipulator isn't trying to understand you, they're trying to secure you. It's about speeding past your defenses before you have time to recognize the red flags. But here's the twist. The same intensity that draws you in will be used against you, because once they feel they have you, emotionally, physically, or psychologically, that affection begins to shift. It may turn cold, distant, confusing. The texts slow down. The compliments turn into criticism. Suddenly, you're not sure what you did wrong. You start chasing that high, trying to get back to the good times. That's exactly how they trap you. You become addicted to their approval. And in trying to win it back, you hand over your power. Love bombing isn't love. Real love takes time. It grows. It respects space. It doesn't try to overwhelm or impress. It tries to understand. It's not grand gestures. It's consistent action. It's not rapid attachment. It's steady connection. So how do you spot it? Watch the pace. If someone's moving too fast, if they're talking about forever before they even know your middle name, hit pause. Pay attention to how they handle no. See how they act when you set a boundary. Real love respects your boundary. Manipulation tries to bypass them. Also ask yourself, do they know you really? Or are they in love with a version of you they created in their head? Because love bombing isn't about who you are. It's about how quickly they can pull you in. You deserve something real, not something that burns bright and fast only to leave you in the dark. The right connection won't confuse you, it won't rush you, and it definitely won't manipulate you. Don't be fooled by intensity, be guided by consistency. Trust the slow burn. That's where truth lives. There's a certain kind of manipulator who's always the victim. No matter the situation, no matter what they've done, they'll find a way to twist the narrative until all the blame disappears from them and lands on someone else, usually you. They'll cry louder, speak softer, and act more wounded than anyone in the room. But don't be fooled. This is not vulnerability, it's strategy. This is one of the most deceptive forms of manipulation, playing the victim. It doesn't matter if they started the argument, broke the trust, or crossed the line. Somehow, by the end of the conversation, you're apologizing, you're comforting them, you're trying to make them feel better. That's not by accident. That's by design. These manipulators weaponize weakness. They pretend to be fragile, misunderstood, or unfairly treated to avoid responsibility and gain sympathy. And the more empathy you have, the more likely you are to fall into their trap. They'll say things like, "No one ever sees my side," or "I guess I'm just always the bad guy." These statements aren't genuine reflections. They're hooks. They're fishing for your guilt, your compassion, your need to fix things. And once you take the bait, they're off the hook. You shift your focus away from the truth and onto their feelings, while the real issues go unresolved. This tactic is especially effective because it plays on your emotional instincts. If you're someone who hates to see others in pain, who feels responsible for maintaining peace, you're their ideal target. They know you'll go the extra mile to make things right, even if it costs you your self-respect. They know you'll stay silent just to avoid upsetting them further. And over time, they condition you to prioritize their emotions over your own truth. But here's the hard truth. Someone who constantly plays the victim isn't looking for healing. They're looking for control. They don't want resolution. They want attention, power, and the ability to avoid accountability. And if you keep giving it to them, you'll lose yourself in the process.